It's Ramsey Dewey over here in Shanghai, China. Let's talk about bullies for a minute. I put up a community post with a link to a video from a fellow named Jacob Hansen, who puts out content relevant to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which happens to be the church that I belong to. And he is dispelling some myths in this video, and at the end of the video, he points out the harm that misinformation can do, especially when that misinformation says this group of people is evil and bad and we should all hate them. Because when we tend to hate people and dehumanize them, it gets really, really easy to hurt people. It's happened in the past, it's happened in the present, and it certainly will happen in the future. So, we got some divergent opinions here, but I put this video up, I put this link up, specifically because, and I'll read what I wrote. I often talk about how the reason I started training in martial arts was because I was beaten up by bullies throughout my childhood. What I don't usually talk about is the two main reasons for the bullying. Number one, I'm a first-generation American, and they mocked the way that I talked and I spoke, and other cultural differences. And number two, public misrepresentations about my religion, some pretty crazy ones, that made my peers see me as less than human and led to actual physical harm and what I would classify as attempted murder. But when you're kids, you can get away with that sort of thing, because kids will be kids, right? Torturing and murdering other kids, not okay, and yet totally something that tends to happen in schools. So a self-professed former bully chimed in and at first said, as a former bully, they would have found something else. I guess he's saying people wouldn't have bullied me because I would have been the one doing the bullying. Well, yeah, because bullies are herd animals. They buy into the mob mentality. If everybody else is doing it, join into the herd lest you get trampled. Because bullies are cowards, and joining into the herd it's something a coward would do. Why? Because you're not a cow. You're not a buffalo. You're not a bison. You're a human being with the God-given gift of intelligence. With the God-given gift to discern between good and evil. And yet, so many of us choose the evil. But that's not the point of this. So after essentially telling me, no, you got bullied because you deserved it, you dweeb, and a few exchanges of words, our former bully friend said this, which I think is an interesting and fair question. How would you have reacted over virtual bullying where martial arts don't work? So, I grew up in the pre-internet era. They didn't have the internet when I was a kid. You couldn't cyberbully people when I was a kid. That wasn't a thing. I suppose it is today. And it's a very strange type of bullying today because it seems to me that block buttons exist, mute buttons exist, etc. And some of you are like, it's not that easy, Ramsey. Well, it might not feel that easy when you're a kid. But let me give you some perspective as a 46-year-old man who's been doing the YouTube thing for 18, 19 years now, and has been on the internet since the inception of the internet, when internet bullying was exceptionally bad, before there were automated systems that cleaned that stuff up for you and sanitized the comments section from all of the crap that used to be there, of which there was quite a bit more. And you might be thinking, but the comment section is already a cesspool of the worst scum and villainy on the internet. No, friends, no, it's not. It may be bad, but it's not early 2000s bad. So how do I currently deal with internet bullying, and how would I have dealt with it were it a thing back then? Well, I'll tell you how I deal with it now. I find bullies, or would-be bullies, very interesting and amusing on the internet. I get bullying messages constantly, daily, many of them. I get hate mail sent to my email. I get hate messages sent to my inbox on YouTube and all forms of social media. Now, this, of course, is displaced with an overwhelming positive response from people who are genuine fans of my channel, as I believe is the case with most people making content for YouTube. People tend to follow people because, hey, I like this guy. I'm not going to waste my time on some dude I think is a bum. But there are hate subscribers, that's a thing. And it is hilarious, the hate subscribers. In fact, over the last 2 weeks, I've got some incredibly venomous, hateful comments, and YouTube allows you to click on their name and see if they're a public subscriber, and all of these people were. All of these hateful, vengeful little spirits out for vengeance were public subscribers of my channel. And YouTube allows you to see the last 3 comments they've left on the channel and how many comments they've left. And every single comment every one of these people have left was just the most evil, spiteful, vile, venomous nonsense. So, what do I do now? It depends on what kind of mood I'm in. If I'm not in a patient mood, I'll simply hit a block button, or better yet, this is the fun part. The block button gets rid of that person, and then they can't see your channel anymore. The mute button is a little bit different. Actually, it's a lot different. The mute button allows you to simply shut that person down, but they don't know it. They don't know that nobody else can hear their nonsense. So they will be shouting out into the void, "Ramsey, you're the worst human on the planet, and I am far superior to you." Ooh. 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 And nobody ever hears the echoes of their cries. Their cries. Their sad, sad tears dripping out into the darkness of the internet void, from whence their words shall never return. And that, I think, is absolutely hilarious. It's a little diabolical, but they absolutely deserve it. If you are going to waste your time trying to roast someone on the internet for no reason, just to be mean and spiteful, you deserve your time to be wasted in that fashion. So, what else do I do? Once in a while, I'll respond to people. One, if I'm feeling bored and I want to have a little bit of fun seeing what this person is all about. And I generally don't do it out of a malicious place. I want to give you an example. There was a fellow wrote me kind of a strongly worded opinion on my video, Punching with Weights is Stupid. And a lot of people hold small weights in their hands and shadow box with them and feel like, oh, I feel so much faster and stronger and snappier after doing this exercise. And I made a video, actually 2 videos, pointing out the pros and the cons of this exercise and how the cons outweigh the pros and how there are better alternatives that can give you better results. And, of course, most of the comments on these videos were, "You're an idiot and you don't know what you're talking about because I saw this professional fighter and that professional fighter, this boxer who apparently is a way better boxer than you or me, punching with weights." So, you can respond to these questions a few different ways. Our gut-wrench reaction when someone says, "No, you're wrong," is to say, "No, you're wrong," but I asked him a few questions. What's your boxing experience? He tells me a little bit about his boxing experience. Okay, cool. And then he goes on to say, you can't say that this training technique doesn't work. To which I replied, I can say it doesn't work. It's garbage. That is what I said. Pro boxers do a lot of junk training. And the exceptional athletes succeed in spite of it, not because of it. Okay? It's not an ad hominem, it's an argument. People who aren't familiar with the vocabulary of debate often confuse argument with some sort of wicked contention, which it is not. An argument is presenting evidence to support your idea. It is not bickering and fighting, as we use argument sometimes in the colloquial term. So we're having an argument, right? But we are not fighting. There are no ad hominems. It's no You're stupid. No, you're stupid. Not happening. So he replies back and he says, yeah, well, it's working for me. I can, all these workouts are good workouts, something like that. So I ask him, what specifically is it doing for you? Now, this is not an example of bullying. This is an example of a chat that could have very easily turned south if we allowed emotions to guide it rather than our minds, our God-given gift of intellect. So I asked him, what specifically is this exercise doing for you? He responds, and he says that lightweight shadow boxing has helped him with his power and speed. So I ask him, how are you measuring your power and speed? He replies, I can feel it. I feel faster. I feel stronger. Okay, so the reason I'm reading this particular line of dialogue between me and this viewer is because often our ideas stem from this idea of, I can feel it. I don't have objective measurements. I don't have devices and machines to measure my speed or my power output, but it's the way that it feels. Okay? And often, because we lack either the technology to measure or to teach our techniques or our output, or we lack the vocabulary to convey such things, which is often the case with martial arts or physical culture in general, we tend to go by what we feel instead. I feel this way. And so I think it's true. Even though often what we feel is not the same as what is actually happening. If you pick up some small weights, for example, and you do a few minutes of shadow boxing, your arms are a little bit spent. They've got some blood in them now. You put down the weights and your arms feel lighter because they are lighter because they don't have the weights in them anymore. And so you have this feeling that you are lighter and faster because the weights are gone. But are you? Not necessarily. Now, we could run experiments on that, but that's not the point. We're talking about online bullying, virtual bullying. And whether or not it is bullying often comes down to how we feel about that situation. I'm going to read you a couple of emails I got from some angry Master Wong fans who hate my guts. Let's see here. Okay. Fellow named Christopher. Apparently he's a big Master Wong fan. He loves Master Wong. He's a big supporter of Master Wong's content and channel. And apparently he saw that video that I made, like 7, 8, 9 years ago, about essentially teaching Master Wong how to do a rear naked choke correctly, because what he was doing at the time was just bad and ergonomically incorrect and non-functional. And Master Wong's fans didn't like hearing that Master Wong doesn't know everything about martial arts. He is not an expert in Jiu-Jitsu, for example. Christopher is one of those people, and he writes this, I am an American, but Ramsey, I can bet my life, careful with that, Chris, I can bet my life that Master Wong would F you up like a toddler tied with handcuffs. I know you have some fighting skills, but I swear to Master Wong, you, just like a feather in the wind, meet the legend Wong and stop mouthing a lot. After you are beaten, like you have nothing to lose, come back home and I will nurse you. My younger brother sends me a message that you mouth a lot with zero content. Okay, so my initial feeling about this is cyberbullying. No, it's an angry kid who feels upset that apparently his younger brother said that Ramsey Dewey guy is mouthing off about our hero, Master Wong. Shame on him. Let's write him angry letters. But if I was a sort of person to be in another frame of mind, I might read this thing and think, I am being attacked on the internet by people who hate me and want to see bodily harm fall upon me, of which there are quite a few, by the way. But this is I would say this is fairly harmless. This is a guy venting his rage, a young man, and let's see if we can find the other letter I got. It wasn't from his brother, it was from a girl. Let's see. Master Wong has some female fans. This is from Esther. Esther writes in and says, Master Wong isn't afraid of you. He's afraid of shaming you to the world, which is against the rules of knowledgeable and skilled fighters like him. It's not a syntactically correct sentence, but I think I do understand the sentiment behind it. Essentially, Master Wong good, Ramsey Dewey less good. So, instead of mouthing a lot about Master Wong, why don't you just meet him and tell him direct to prove to you he can beat you like hell? Please try, sure, please, the PLZ, please try that and tell me it if it worked for you. Okay, let's try it. Let's go meet Master Wong. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. So, Master Wong wasn't home when I knocked on the door, next door, you know, because apparently we're this close. I can just walk right over there and say, hey, Master Wong, how you doing? Because Shanghai, China, and England are so close. So close. Anyway. It is very interesting when the fans of a martial arts YouTuber, or any YouTuber really, who is debunked say, you have to meet this guy in person in order to debunk this easily debunked thing that you debunked. Which is nuts if you think about it. A rear naked choke is something which is objective. It's not subjective. It's not like, here's my rear naked choke, and here's my completely different rear naked choke, which, according to my magical thinking, will work even though it is not actually constricting the carotid arteries. There's so much space in my arms here that a human neck will not feel any pressure whatsoever. Not an actual strangulation. And I can point that out, and anybody who knows even a little bit about jiu-jitsu can see that. But people who don't understand grappling at all and have a very low fight IQ, and who have fallen into the trap of hero worship, instead want to believe that their martial arts hero is a demigod. This happens a lot with Bruce Lee, for example. Probably a lot more with Bruce Lee than Master Wong, but there are some people who feel that way about Master Wong. They've set him up as the object of their cult worship, whether he asked for it or not. I don't think Master Wong seems like the sort of guy who is into starting a cult, but he certainly has cult followers. So, is this cyberbullying? I don't believe so. What would be cyberbullying? How about this? A child wants to make fun of another child. And so maybe they take a picture of them. They snap a picture of them at school. And then they distort that picture to make it look silly, funny, ridiculous. And they write a caption to make that child seem stupid, imbecilic, laughable. And then they pass that little meme they made onto their friends. Look how stupid I made Jimmy look. Look at how dumb Sarah looks in this meme. And these are jokes told at the expense of Jimmy and Sarah. And then the friends start passing this on to their friend groups, and they're laughing behind Jimmy and Sarah's backs. Meanwhile, Jimmy and Sarah don't know what's going on. And then maybe one day they see the meme and they're like, oh, that hurts my feelings. Who did this? Everybody's laughing at me. Everybody thinks I'm some kind of joke now. And this is a different kind of situation than, say, just being able to block annoying people on the internet. because these are people you go to school with. And you're not just dealing with the bullies who are sending these mean messages or joking at your expense or trying to tarnish your reputation. You're dealing with the reputation. The reputation, this third party, this third entity, and that's a bit of a problem. When we try to personify a non-human entity like a reputation or an identity or some other non-human entity, a relationship. Think about that for a minute. Let's say there's a guy and he has a girlfriend, so a girlfriend and a boyfriend, they're in a relationship, all right? They love each other, they care about each other, they're attracted to each other. Maybe they want to get married someday, something like that, right? But here's what happens a lot with young people. Instead of thinking of it as here's the man, here's the woman, they think here's the man, here's the woman, and here in the middle is the relationship. And so we must feed the relationship. We must worship the relationship. We must sacrifice to the relationship. The relationship is now our God. We are now the cult of the relationship. And it's not about the man or the woman. It's about this third entity, this third non-human entity that has become personified. And if we have broken the sacred commandments of the relationship, we shall be excommunicated from the relationship. Have you ever had a relationship like that? I have, back in college, man. That's a sucky situation to be in. But we do this with other situations as well. Our reputation. People try to tarnish my reputation online constantly. Constantly. Take Dan the Wolfman, for example. I'm bringing him up, and I'm doing this specifically because if you type in my name on YouTube, you will find dozens of videos made by Dan the Wolfman saying something along the lines of Ramsey Dewey is a liar and a fraud, and he goes on at length trying to tarnish my reputation. Now, if I had personified this non-human entity called the reputation and thought the reputation is an entity that is more important than the person, I might be very upset by this. And Dan has done this to a lot of YouTubers. Icy Mike, Rokas Leonavicius, Jesse Enkamp, Sensei Seth. You type in their names, you will find what's his name? Dan the Wolfman's videos all about them as well, because he's constantly putting our names in his titles, his descriptions, his search terms, etc., because he wants you to go to his page when you search for us. And he said a number of things which are objectively untrue. For example, he said, quite frankly, didn't even insinuate, just said that we were all in, what is it, when, like a multi-network group. I'm not sure what the actual official term is, but a lot of YouTubers belong to these multi-channel networks where essentially they collaborate together and they share revenue and like one company takes the lion's share of it, and in return they get to be part of this big conglomerate. I'm not part of that, and as far as I'm aware, none of these other guys are as well. So Dan was making some stuff up here. Now, he has put hours of content out on the internet, besmirching my name and the names of other YouTubers, and we could very easily classify this as cyberbullying, because he's attempting to damage your reputation. And a lot of people seem to buy into it. Maybe not that many, but a few thousand. And a few thousand people, well, in terms of YouTube numbers, it's not going to generate a lot of revenue, but in real life, a few thousand is actually a pretty sizable number. If you have 2,000 people who hate your guts standing in front of you, that's a terrifying situation. If you have 2,000 people around you who feel like you are the best person in the world and want to be your best friend, that feels pretty awesome. So, what do we do about that? Do we lash back and say, no, Dan, you're wrong? Now, this is the first time I've made a YouTube video even addressing this issue because, well, the issue of cyberbullying came up in this fellow's question. So I'm thinking of a situation which is comparable, or the most comparable to, say, bullying in school that children might do to each other over the internet. In other words, they attempt to damage reputation. This is what girls do. This is how teenage girls bully each other. Boys are different. Boys tend to be more upfront. At least back in my day, boys were that way. If they didn't like you, they would try to beat you up. They would try to assert physical dominance over you. They would try to stuff you into a locker, stick your head in a toilet by holding you upside down by the legs with all their friends, throw you on the ground and kick your teeth in, things like that. Dudes would beat you up back in the day if they didn't like you. When girls don't like other girls, on the other hand, sometimes a catfight will break out, but more often than not, they will attack the reputation. That girl is not a virtuous young woman, they might say in some much more explicit language, in order to get other people to think, oh, well, she is anathema now. She is no good. Shame, shame. Stay away from her. Don't invite her to all the social events. Because that's how teenage girls talk these days, right? But cyberbullying is pretty much that. It is bullying the way that teenage girls bully. It is attempting to attack reputation. Did I just insinuate that Dan the Wolfman was acting like a teenage girl? Yes. Yes, I did. Dan, come on, man. Come on. If you don't like it, don't act like that. Very, very effeminate behavior. Not just effeminate, but very childish effeminate behavior. Once again, if you don't like the way that sounds, don't act like that. What other forms of cyberbullying have I experienced that might be comparable? If you search my name on YouTube, again, you'll find other videos that other people have made. Maybe I'll do a little search right now. Ramsey Dewey, and we'll find videos I didn't make. And sometimes we'll find response videos, like some person might make a video saying, oh, here's a video I saw that Ramsey Dewey made, and I really like this part, but I disagree with this part. Or sometimes it's like, I hate Ramsey Dewey, and this video he put out really sucks, and I'm going to tell you all about why I think it's the worst. Here we go. So, a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, our friend Wade Smith, and he's a public subscriber, and he writes a lot of questions and assertions in the comments of my channel. I believe he's a karate practitioner of some style, and he has been having this ongoing dialogue with me about the rule in the UFC, Mixed Martial Arts Unified Rules, that says no small joint manipulation. And he previously believed that meant no wrist locks. And he got a little upset at that. Like, well, that's not fair. A wrist lock is a valid technique. Well, so I set him straight. Look, it doesn't mean wrist locks. Wrist locks are perfectly legal. Okay? Yeah, that means no bending or twisting individual fingers or two fingers. If you have control of 3 or 4 fingers, that's okay. Small joints are individual fingers. It's not wrists. It's not ankles. But Wade seemed a little dubious about this, and he wrote a number of other comments, and some strongly worded, although I wouldn't classify any of them as bullying. Just strongly worded, but he made a number of responses. A number of response videos stating, well, I disagree. I don't think this is the case. I don't believe what you said right here and here and here and so on. And, even though I completely disagree with what Wade is saying, he's saying it in more or less a respectful way. And that's fine. He's not saying Ramsey Dewey is an idiot because he said something that I don't agree with. That's fine. Let's scroll down a little bit. Let's see. Looks like somebody made a YouTube martial artist ranking tier list. I hate tier lists so much. am actually working on a tier list of the worst kinds of YouTube tier lists right now, just to mock the concept of YouTube tier lists. Anyway, it looks like I am on this tier list, and I'm not even remotely interested in seeing where I land on a tier list. Okay, we are passing through about a dozen Dan the Wolfman videos as I have searched for my own name on YouTube. Man, I'm still scrolling through Dan the Wolfman's videos trying to find another video I've actually published. Yep, another Dan the Wolfman video. How many of these have you done, man? Do you remember that time when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock and said, "Keep my wife's name out of your mouth"? I kind of want to say something like that to Dan. Dan, keep my name out of your mouth. And it's not so much because I don't like Dan besmirching my name. It's that it makes it much more difficult to search for what I'm searching for on YouTube. And this is really annoying because I can type in the exact name of the video I'm looking for. For example, let me think. A popular video I made... let's see. I made a video about the 12 to 6 elbow, for example. So let's type that in. Ramsey Dewey, 12 to 6 elbow. Okay. And fortunately, my video I was thinking of is the first one to pop up, followed by several other videos about the 12 to 6 elbow or commenting on my video about the 12 to 6 elbow. Okay. This isn't always the case. What happens a lot is I will try to find a video that I made to answer somebody's question, right? Because people ask me the same questions all the time. And this is why I tend to make these Q&A videos, is to answer their questions. So they'll say something like, "Hey Ramsey, I'm really scared of fighting. What do I do?" So I will recommend them my video, Scared of Fighting, Prepare to Die. So if I want to find that video, I might write in the search engine Ramsey Dewey and then the exact title, Scared of Fighting, Prepare to Die. And fortunately, that's the first video to pop up. And then after that, some of my other videos, and then some other people's videos who have put my name in their search results. Now, what happens with some of my less popular videos, the ones that didn't get nearly as many views as that, is I will search for the exact title, and instead of getting that video, a completely unrelated video from, say, Dan the Wolfman will come up because he has put his name in the search engine. It's quite annoying because I want to send this message to this person, and the search terms are getting in the way. I'm not finding my own content. And I bet Dan is quite happy about that. He's probably thinking, good, I will direct views to my channel. Good luck with that, my friend. Good luck. Especially considering how my channel has been in the toilet these last couple of years. Hasn't been great. As far as the views, the monetization, and such. So, if you are a friend of this channel, I would ask you for a favor right here, and it's not the hit all the like and subscribe buttons and all that, it's see that share button. If you see a video on my channel or anything I ever publish and you like it, click share. Yeah. Click share and post it on your community page here on YouTube, so that the people that know you can see it. Or click share and post it on Facebook or Twitter, or post the link on whatever other social media account you use. They don't call it Twitter anymore, do they? X, I think? I don't know. I don't even know how to navigate that site, but I know you can post links from YouTube there. So if you want to if you want to help save this channel, share the videos, man. Nothing boosts visibility in the algorithm more than other people sharing your content. That would be tremendously helpful. I have a question for you folks at home. Have any of you ever felt like I bullied you in an online interaction? I know some of you have felt that way. A fellow the other day sent me this big, long message about what a wicked, awful, horrible person I was because I had been rude and awful and mean and bullying to him. I didn't even know who this fellow was. So I asked him, what happened? And he replied by saying that I mocked his lisp. I have never in my life mocked somebody with a lisp before. I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know who this person is. He didn't have any content on his page, so no way to even listen to what he sounded like, let alone mock it. So I'm not quite sure what that was all about. Perhaps it's one of those situations where people who think all bald people look the same and therefore are all the same, because a lot of people can only discern between one person and another, not based on their face, not their voice, not other physical characteristics, but only by their hair. If you don't believe that, shave your head. If you're a hairy-headed person, shave your head. And then suddenly you will be compared to every single bald person ever. Hey, did anybody ever tell you that you look like Vin Diesel? Did anybody ever tell you that you look like the guy from The Mummy? Did anybody ever tell you you look like Yul Brynner, Patrick Stewart, and every single other bald man on the planet? Has anybody ever told you you look like Michael Jordan? Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, doesn't matter what color your skin is, it's this up here. If you're bald, that's what they go by. That's how people tend to navigate. You don't think you do, but you do. Through our peripheral vision, we tend to guide by the eyebrows. That's one of the reasons we have eyebrows, so we can recognize a human face from the peripheral vision, because from the peripherals, we can notice eyebrows. So people with, say, alopecia universalis who don't have eyebrows or any hair anywhere on their body are invisible in your peripheral vision. So that's kind of a funny thing. I wonder why, or if, that would be a particularly effective strategy for fighting, to shave off your eyebrows before a fight, because when you attack, the most successful attacks are from the peripherals. And if you're invisible there, because they can't detect your eyebrows from their own peripheral vision, ooh, you're like a ghost. Am I going to start a trend of eyebrow-less fighters? Because it looks weird, man. It looks weird. But that is the main function that eyebrows form, or serve, is so we can recognize a human face as being a human face from our blurry peripherals. We've gone on a journey today, friends. We've gone all over the place. Up, down, left, right, bullying, Dan the Wolfman, etc., etc., etc. Thanks for bearing with me. I hope it wasn't a waste of your time. If you have further questions for a future episode of Q&A with the Coach, please leave them in the comments down below. I have been Ramsey Dewey. That hasn't changed. Thank you for watching. Now get out there and train.